Hello there, and after a very long break, welcome back to my series on Lemmings Plus I, my thoughts, etc, etc. So, when we left off, we were up to Danger 16, which is called Grounded. Now, this level it's based on a level I've seen elsewhere. I don't remember whose level, it wasn't an official one. So like the basic idea is obviously you don't have enough builders to make a platform, so you've got to find another way to make a platform, which is of course you make use of this pole on the right. And so that's all there really is to this level, and yeah, as I said, it's inspired by a level I saw from someone else, but I can't remember who it was or what level pack. I'm pretty sure it was a cheapo level, but I don't know. Anyway, on to level 17, which is Perfectionism. Now, this one was in the first release of Lemmings Plus I. It was actually a Psycho level. It was Psycho 27. It was moved back to Danger 17 because, well, originally Danger 17 was actually an easier version of this same level, and the difference in difficulty wasn't actually that much. Now, in addition to having that little backstory, this is also a remade level from the cheapo Lemmings Plus series. In there it was called Interlock, so it had 5 entrances. There was like an extra one around this area here, rather than 2 lemmings coming out of one entrance. The reason there's only 4 in this version is because back when this was on traditional Lemmings, it only supported up to 4 entrances, so yeah. Needless to say, this one does play a little bit different from the original cheapo version. It's just a recognisable design, so to say. So, okay, which number was it? I think it was 05? I think so, we'll see. Yes, so this is Live and a Lie. This was the original Danger 17, and as you can see, it's an easier version of the same level. You only have to save 80% here. And as you can see, so when the current Danger 17 was moved back from Psycho 27, it was replaced with a brand new level. So this version gave you 2 of everything, unlike the sort of mixed up skill set the newer one has. And of course, because of the allowance of losing one lemming, we can simply ignore this guy, and that makes this version pretty easy. So you can sort of see why I let that version of it go. So back to Danger, which is now up to level 18. And this one is also a remake from cheapo, and it's called the Buildo Station. So you've got 13 lemmings, you've got to save all of them 1 minute. And the only skills you get to do it with are lots of builders. Now at first it might come across like stack the builders to create a holding area or just make everyone build. The actual trick to it is you put the release rate high and then just build across each gap as a lemming comes to it. Pretty much any other strategy here is going to run you out of time. Now I don't know if it's still possible on Neo Lemmings. It should be. On the original Lemmings version it was actually possible to complete this level with only 24 builders. As you can see, the timing sort of messed up a bit, so here one builder ended up on the top here. But that's the basic concept behind this level. This idea was also reused for a level in the Lemmings Plus II bonus pack, which you'll see when we get up to that. The video is quite a way away at the moment. So on to Danger 19, which is Anti-Gravity. Now this one's a repeat of a mild level, and it's sort of a space filler, but it is a challenging level in that you don't have any builders. Now the hardest part of not having builders is of course turning the lemmings around at this bit, so there's a few sort of clever blocker tricks and stuff you can use for that. But either way, once you've sorted that out, the rest of it's just use miners, diggers, bashes to make paths the lemmings can come up, so it's not a too hard level, not too easy either. Okay, so on to level 20, which is Danger's edition of No Salvation. So as you can see, continuing the same pattern, 10 less lemmings, 10% more required, only 2 minutes and only 4 of each skill. Now the solution I've used in previous versions here does still work, but you have to be very accurate with it. You don't have a single builder to spare basically. Or do you? No. Actually yeah, you do. But, so I suppose it works quite well still. But the point is that this solution is a lot harder to execute accurately on this version than it was on the previous ones. As you can see, it can still be done. It's not until Psycho that you need to change the approach bit. So now on to Danger 21, which is its latest craze. 20 lemmings, 85% to be saved, and this level was another version 7 addition to the pack. One that came from the cancelled sequel. And basically the main obstacle here is this really long walk combined with the tight time limit. It's also a bit short on skills to contain lemmings with, but luckily you've got this containment pit here. It's just a matter of using it without losing your lemmings. It's sort of a matter of that you want to turn them around, like have the last one go back as late as possible pretty much. And then you've sort of got your worker here and you can just mine to release the others. And if done right, then beyond that the level pretty much solves itself. So unlike the other new levels, which are generally very hard, this one's actually a fair bit on the easy side. As you can see though, the time limit on it is very tight. So it's like the one challenge of the seal. So let's take a break from that to look at the original Danger 21, which is possibly the most annoying level in the original version of Lemmings Plus I. And you'll be able to see quite clearly why. No, we don't want 07, we want 06. 06, there is no rank 7. Which is Phase Rotation Syndrome, 40 lemmings, 100%, and it's a repeat of Mild 18, which was not removed. Mild 18 is still in there, so that's why the design of it looks familiar. So as you can see, I put it quite simply here, it was removed because it was fucking annoying as hell. And you'll see why. So, complete, you've got 50 builders, 50 diggers. Looks impossible? It's not, it's just really annoying. So here's how to complete it. So you basically have 2 worker lemmings, and the idea is you rotate blocking and digging. Keep going until you create a zigzag path all the way to the exit. So you can see now why this level got removed. Because, yeah, basically this kind of thing is very repetitive and very annoying, so. And once you get there, obviously you don't have to keep going with the diagonal thing. And it's the lemming saved. Aren't you glad that that level's been taken out? So now back to Danger, we're up to Danger 22, which is Die the Death of the Damned. Now this one I mentioned earlier, it's a remake of a cheapo level. It's like the functional parts of it are the same, which is like this bar here, this wall with the little fire on top of it, then the 6 gaps in the exit. The surrounding decoration is completely changed. As I mentioned, I think in the earlier version, Mild 22, the original level was actually, believe it or not, themed after a taxi company of all things. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like 12, if that, when I made that level, so. But yeah, this version also reduces the skills you've got. In the original version you had Digger, another Basher and a Climber, so you could just like sort of climb, dig, bash and complete it. In this one you have nothing but what you need to get to the exit, a bash to get through here and 1 builder for each of these gaps. So the trick is you got to use the release rate and timing of the lemmings to avoid losing any, because as you saw this level does require 100%. The optimum setup I found is after the first lemming, knock it up to 99, and then just before the last lemming, knock it down a little bit, not all the way back down to 50, but around 80 works. And from there, if you make the last one do the bashing, and the rest of the timing mostly works itself out for you. Now, one thing that is noticeable is at this point they're starting to catch up, and indeed this guy will overtake the builder. Fortunately, there's enough time for him to build the last gap, and the time limit generally does, even though it's small, it generally doesn't become a problem on this level. So on to level 23 now, which is Lair of the Fallen Lemming. Now this one was taken from my Windows Lemmings level pack. It was not, if I remember correctly, featured in any cheapo pack. Now, as I mentioned in its earlier version, which was 1P25, originally this was like a more angled raise here. It's changed basically because of back roots. So, basic idea is you send the lemming over the top and build back up because you don't have enough destructive skills to go downwards. So you got a really long dash over the top here. Because of the length of this drop, you do need a floater to get down it. You got a steel block here to conveniently turn them around because you can only lose one lemming here, or two lemmings. But the point is, you don't really have enough spare skills to turn them around any other way. So then you just build it. So it's basically a matter of you sort of get the lemming to the end and then you solve it backwards, going back to the start. It's actually a trick that I haven't used that often. There are a few other levels that use it, like there's one in Lemmings Plus I near the end of the third ranking called From Endings to Beginnings, but generally that's a trick I think I need to start using more in levels in all honesty. So yes, that's that level. So on to level 24, which is Find a Way Out. Now this level has a bit of an interesting history to it. Originally this was an easier version of a Psycho level which was called the Framework. That level never made it into the release, like not even the first version, simply because it didn't work out the way it was intended. So this version survived. Originally it was a 20 of everything level. When this pack moved to Neo-Lemmings, like it had an unofficial Neo-Lemmings version, that cut it to 10 of everything. Then the official Neo-Lemmings version is further cut it down to only 2 of everything, and a much tighter... No, I think the time limit was originally this tight actually. So, sort of just a level that's become harder over time to its current state more than anything else. But yeah, the original solution for the Psycho version was meant to include coming right around here, all the way with like climber and then bashing under here to release this group. That didn't really work out as planned. But that's what remains of that level. So on to level 25, which is Use the Pen. Now this is a ridiculously easy level. It's sort of like, though, the main concept of it is it's one of those levels where you have to look at it so that you're not overlooking an obvious solution. Because I mean, the solution is simple, but it doesn't necessarily stick out right away. Now, you don't have to use the side here. Like in the previous versions, there was a little overhang here that you could use before the side was right there, like back when it was full width level. So basically the idea is just you bash under the one-way arrows. There is no way you can get over them. Well, not without losing lemmings anyway, and losing lemmings is not desirable on a level that requires 100%. If you're wondering about the name of that level, I have no idea what I was thinking when I named it, in all honesty. It's just one of those nonsense names that's there because it's there, I guess. So on to level 26, which is So That's the Plan. So it's 50 lemmings, 80%, and this is actually a 20 of everything level. Despite that, it is one of the harder levels in the danger ranking. So this is like sort of the first time when I made a not so easy 20 of everything level, and that's sort of the theme I've continued. Like Lemmings Plus II has a really hard 20 of everything level in the cunning rank. And I think there's a few others of them where I'm not necessarily always 20. Sometimes it's a lower number, but well, one of many ways you can do this is to go up here. Another way is, of course, you climb up here, turn around, build across, and then just mine, zigzag or something downwards. But the basic idea is finding a way to get around the flame. On this side it's a lot easier because if you come right next to the block there, you can just drop straight past it. One-way arrows don't really achieve much since there's no way to get across there anyway, and you can use like the builder digger trick. That does still work in Lemmings, by the way. It's one of the things that hasn't been removed, because it's not really glitchy as such, it's just mechanics performing together in strange ways. But obviously it doesn't serve much of a purpose, since if you do that you're still, well, you probably wasted all your builders just getting there, let alone doing that, and then there's gaps which they can't get through. So level 27 now, which is the deadly climb. So you've got 5 lemmings, 40% to be saved. Now originally this level was a repeat version, then I found some little changes I made to the earlier version, which actually made it harder. So the original earlier version is now the repeat. So for this one, the basic idea is that you've got to trap as they're climbing up. So you've got to jam them together now while they're falling, so that they're bunched up enough to avoid the trap, and that's basically all there is to this level. This trap is very fast, as you can see. In the next short time they're climbing past it, it grabs 3 of the 5 lemmings. From there it's just a walk to the exit. So as I mentioned, this level actually has a repeat in Psycho, which we'll see in the very next video actually. It's in the earlier parts of Psycho. It's actually one of the closest together original repeat pairs in the pack. So level 28 of Danger, which is Steps, and this is actually another relatively easy level, but it involves a trick that newer players may not think of. It's basically you just got to block here, and you've basically got to do the mid-step bashes stop thing to get upwards. So the one real killing point of this is that a few levels back, so that's the plan. The most obvious solution uses this trick anyway, so this almost ends up as like a simplified version of that. Except that unlike that one, this one doesn't really have any alternate way to solve it. As you can see, you can't go over the top with steel, you can't go under. But yeah, this is a pretty easy level. It was mostly just made to fill in space in all honesty. So on to level 29, Pipeline Problem. Now this is another one that comes from my Windows pack, and it's another X of everything level. In this case it's only 10. But again, it's a bit on the tricky side because the time limit here is very tight. Now back before this level was moved to Lemmings, on the original Lemmings version, I actually found a really awesome solution, obviously exploiting hundreds of glitches along the way, that completed this level with, like, as well as other skills, but only one builder. So like, other skills were used obviously, it wasn't like one builder and that's it, it was like one builder and other skills that aren't builders, but yeah, like, I mean that in itself is pretty tricky for this level, but then considering the time limit as well. I don't actually remember where that one builder was needed, so I think it was to slide up here to the exit. I don't know, you probably, I don't know if you're a Lemmings expert or well knowledgeable about Lemmings, you know the non-Neo Lemmings, the DOS games or original Lemmings has what's called the sliding glitch, where like basically if you have a little gap in a wall and time a builder perfectly, you can send Lemmings just rocketing up the wall. So yeah, but this level, as you can see, basic idea for this more than anything else is just do it fast, get to the exit as quickly as you can, because as you can see this is a pretty optimized solution and it's still running very tight on the time limit. So that's that level. So now the final one for this video, which is Danger 30, the Hideout. So this is 80 lemmings, 80% to be saved, it's a repeat of Medi 14. It's a bit more restrictive on the skill set, bit more lemmings to save, but it is overall a fairly easy level. It's mostly just a sort of fancified worker lemming level where you've got to do a few things. So like the easiest way to do it is like get one from the left to come over and free the right. then come back and get one from the right to go back and then create a splat form for the left. So it's sort of like a cross-cooperative solution, but that's far from the only way to complete this level, so it is pretty simple, this one. There's sort of an easy finisher to the danger ranking, but I suppose it's good to have a break, because once you get into Psycho it does get pretty hard, and especially the early parts of Psycho also have some bloody annoying levels. So Psycho 2, Psycho 5 are probably, like, now that the original Danger 21's out of the way, those two are probably the most annoying levels in the pack. So, well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll also probably start my playthrough of Copycat Lemmings sometime soon, although with that being said, I have been putting a lot of work into the NeoLemmix graphic set tool lately, so that's been taking up a lot of my Lemmings time, but I'm starting to manage to get videos out again. So anyway, I'll see you in my next video, whichever one that happens to be, and until then, have a good day.